Hey, what's up, guys? Back with episode 4. It's going to be a good one today. We talk about a bunch of stuff, mainly hardship, how to overcome it, how to get rocking and rolling. Let's knock it out. So the first one I got here is with Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson. Talk a little bit about hardship, nature, the one percenters, who the real one percenters are. Might blow your mind a little bit. Check it out.
Like, there's this endless, what would you call it, vulnerability that characterizes our existence psychologically and socially and naturally. And I would say 150 years ago, that was even more intense than it was now, because the typical person in the West lived on less than $1 a day before 1895.
$1 a day in 1895. You imagine that? First of all, how much was $1 actually worth? That's kind of nuts if you think about that, right? I guess this was before the Federal Reserve in, 1913, but hey, thanks a lot, Fed. No, I'm kidding.
The way I think that we should view the history of the world is that men and women labored under virtually impossible conditions for the entire bulk of human evolution, and they did their best to cooperate and to compete, but to cooperate so that they had some possibility of a modicum of security and satisfaction, and that's the right framework.
Basically what I'm getting here is times have been hard, especially through human history, when it comes to working together and cooperating, even competing against each other. It seems like there's always been this cooperative effort for survival, though. That seems like that has triumphed over all, really. And now, I mean, times are so soft here, especially in America. Certain neighborhoods, I guess, still have it pretty tough, but it's like we try so hard now to find problems when we don't have very many problems. It's like, for how much of the history of the world have we just been trying to eat and not be killed by animals? And now, especially us in the bigger cities, we have it pretty easy when it comes to not having to worry about food and also not being killed by animals, that we make stuff up.
Within that, of course, there's power games that are played by people who are corrupt.
Yeah, within that, there's horrible events, there's terrible things that have taken place. But there's a massive amount of hypocritical thinking when you are criticizing the actions of so many people and talking about how many people are complicit in these things while you're carrying around a phone that's made by someone who gets $1 a day.
So think about that one there. That's always a tough one, especially you iPhone users. Man, you guys don't even know where your phones are coming from. At least the Android, Samsung people, hey man, that's South Korea. They live in pretty good there, but certain places in China, forget about it, man. This video, now that I mentioned it, would probably never even see the light of day in China. But anyway, think about that. The worker who made your iPhone, $1 a day.
I was talking to a journalist in Slovenia who was a lefty and not a very sophisticated one, and she was talking about the 1%. And I said, well, do you know that if you make more than $32,000 a year, that you're part of the 1%?
If you make more than $32,000 a year, you're part of the 1%. So be careful when you talk about taxing the rich, or the rich are evil, or whatever. It's like, hey man, if you make more than 32 grand a year, you actually are the 1%. You're the 1% of the world. It's an interesting statistic, right?
She said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, that's the worldwide statistic. It's like, so you're part of the 1%. Well, she didn't. First of all, she said, well, I don't believe that statistic. And I thought, well,
ridiculous.
That's fine. You can go look it up yourself. But what was so interesting was that for her, that characterization, the 1% victimizers, was only relevant within the confines of her national border.
Right.
As soon as I said, well, no, all you have to do is expand that out a little bit and you're the problem and not the solution, then that was that was completely untenable for her.
Exactly.
She couldn't include herself in the population of victimizers, even though, you know, she lives in a Western country and she's a well-paid journalist and she lives a very privileged life, so to speak, by historical and world standards.
In comparison to someone living in the Congo or something.
Well, or anybody living
Guatemala,
anywhere in the entire history of the human race.
Right. Up until now, for sure. If you make $34,000 today, you absolutely are in the top 1% of everybody who's ever lived.
Oh, definitely. Well, of course. Yes, definitely, especially given what you can buy with it.
The only reason to deny that is because it doesn't fit what you've come into the argument with. It doesn't.
Man, that will blow your mind. It blew mine. So it's so weird to think about. Again, going back to human history, how hard times were. We have it so easy these days. Now, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that bad stuff doesn't happen. I mean, I've gone through my fair share of trauma. I'm sure we all have. But when you put it in perspective of things that have gone in the past by our ancestors, man, I'll probably take today's problems. So the next one I got here is from a podcast called Impact Theory. It's a guy named Tom Bilyeu. He was the founder of Quest Nutrition, Quest Bars, pretty good stuff. Anyway, he runs a pretty awesome podcast now, and we'll see. These guys are talking about hardship, getting over, I think, abusive parents.
And so he decided that what he would do is he would try and understand his father instead of judging him. And he went through a process where my father was born a serf. We got freed later on, but he was basically a slave. His father beat him. He was never allowed to go into the kind of work that he wanted to. So no wonder he became an alcoholic who beat me. He can't help it. Instead of hating him, I'm going to love my father. I'm going to try and love him for this human being, for this fact of nature that can't help himself, but is my father for who he is. And in that moment, he had a total epiphany.
I think that's so powerful. And I think that would solve a lot of relational problems these days. When we have the ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, I think that's huge. That's a huge win. If you can try to imagine and you just give a person the benefit of the doubt, that's such a game changer. Think about it even when you're in traffic and somebody cuts you off. Who knows what their day has been like? Who knows where they're coming from? Who knows where they're driving to? What if they're in an emergency? What if they're cut and bleeding and stuff and just trying to get to a hospital? You have no idea. I think it's a lot easier to point the blame, flip them the bird, cuss them out, whatever. But if you just take that little extra effort and you create this story or this narrative that may or may not be true, who knows, but it would benefit you a lot better, I think, if you actually just give them the benefit of the doubt and maybe show them a little bit of mercy.
That by getting rid of his negative emotions towards people, he was like free. He was liberated. And I've experienced this myself in my meditation. To go through just an hour or half an hour of freeing yourself from all your negative emotions about people, it's almost as if you're going to fly in the air. You feel so light and suddenly you've gotten rid of all of your burdens and all the things that are weighing you down. Accepting people and loving them for who they are is an incredibly liberating thing. Now, you can't do that for everyone. Some people are so toxic and ugly that you're never going to reach a point where you're going to love them. But you can understand them. And in understanding them, you don't have to internalize the pain they inflict on you.
That's big time. So going back to that story, if there is a story behind them, there's a story that you're telling about a person who cut you off in traffic or whatever, bumped you in the grocery store and didn't say, excuse me. If you tell yourself a story, hey, that guy's having a really bad day, I got it, a little bit better than him. You are getting rid of those negative emotions, and you're getting rid of those things that can hold you back. And I mean, this guy's talking about flying and stuff. Seems pretty sweet to feel like flying. But anyway, there are certain times though when there are going to be people, especially that are in your life repetitively, and you may need to cut them off. And after a certain amount of time, it is more beneficial to, just not be involved with them anymore. But still give them the benefit of the doubt to kind of liberate yourself. The next one I got here, of course, you can see is from Jocko. He's going over Machiavelli, different rules for warfare, and how it can actually apply to you. He's talking about opportunity and how certain people maybe don't take advantage of certain things.
To know in war how to understand occasion and take it helpeth more than any other thing. What does that mean? That means one of the best skills you can have is knowing how to recognize a good opportunity in war or in life and take advantage of that opportunity. That is more beneficial than anything else.
That's more beneficial than anything else. So that would be, if you could do yourself any favors in life, do that one. So you see an opportunity, recognize it, take it.
The biggest and most blatant example where you see this, well, your kids aren't old enough, but with kids, just kids. Kids have so much opportunity in life.
Yeah.
And they just don't take advantage of it like they should.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I could see how that could be for sure. But I think that's because they have hard time connecting now and then the future.
I'm laughing, I'm chuckling a little bit because not only do I see it with my boys, but I also see it in my past, to where I'm looking at it from, man, if I had just paid attention or planned ahead a little bit, like how much more success could you have made? Not that I'm complaining about my current success levels, but I'm looking at it from my kids' standpoint, and I'm thinking, all right, can you just do a little bit more over time that's going to benefit you so much more down the road? You're going to be so much better off. But we don't think that way. And kids definitely don't think that way. They're like, what's the least I can do right now to still be halfway decent later on? Maybe improve a little bit. But they're not thinking like, all right, if I went and did this exercise today, it's going to make me so much stronger over the course of a year. You know, they're not fast forwarding a year to even see what they would look like. Even if it was doing 10 push-ups, you know, twice a day, you'd be up to 20 in a month. You'd be doing 40 in 2 months. You'd be up to 100 in a year. And that's something definitely kids don't see. And we have a hard time seeing it too.
The athletes, real good athletes, same thing. They have all this potential.
Yeah.
Anytime someone, well, not anytime, oftentimes some people that are given a gift, it's just given to them, and they don't have to work for it, they don't want to take advantage of it. They don't see the opportunity. They don't take advantage of the opportunity. Whatever that skill set is.
Yeah.
That seems to be true, right? You're given something, Christmas gift or something like that. You kind of don't appreciate it as much as especially if you'd earned it. And that right there is a huge difference. Earning versus being given something. It makes a monumental difference.
Like, almost like when you give a kid a gift or money versus if they earn it.
Yep.
I think you covered that on Way of the Warrior Kid.
Yeah, that's way covered on Way of the Warrior Kid.
Yeah. So when you earn it, it's like you know the hard work sort of it takes, and you kind of appreciate it, and then whatever comes out of that. But yeah, if it's given to you, you run the risk of squandering it for sure, especially when the going kind of gets rough, you know? Yeah.
No doubt.
Squander. That's a awesome word. Squander. You're going to squander that gift. All right, so the last one I got for today is from the man himself, Tony Robbins. He was on Bulletproof Radio with Dave Asprey, and Dave's asking him, look, out of all of your experience throughout everything you've encountered, everything you've learned, witnessed, whatever, I need 3 things that you can give me, 3, no more, that will just help benefit a person the most. Here's his answer.
Number one is why. Because while they're feeling this right now, they're not going to feel it when they bump into all the things that are going to get in the way to achieve what they want. Okay. You got to have strong enough reasons, and they usually got to be reasons larger than yourself. Yeah. Most of us will do more for others we love than we'll ever do for ourselves. So there has to be a mission to this. Otherwise, what you just told me is bullshit. It's not going to happen.
Yep. Yeah, you got to have a why. The why will get you through get you through so much, especially when, you don't feel like working out, or you don't, want to take that extra effort to accomplish whatever goal you're working on. That why, at times the laziness, you don't want to put the time in, you're too busy, whatever, the why will break you through that wall, that boundary.
I think 2 is you need to find a role model. Now, they may not be doing what you're doing, but they may have done more than what you want to do. They may have done something similar, but you need something that shows you a pathway that can save you time. Because if you're going to learn just by trial and error, it could be a long time.
Find a role model in whatever it is you want to do. And he's saying, hey, look, it doesn't matter. They might have accomplished more than you actually want to do, but if they've at least accomplished that, then that'd be good, a good way to go. But he's also saying to add value to that person. Like, you're not just a parasite. You're not a leech just sucking information or sucking skills or knowledge, whatever. You're also adding value. So you'd have to figure that out, what you can do for a person, how you can help the most people, kind of what he was saying in the first principle too. When you're developing your why, helping most people or helping more people will, if you have that incorporated in your why, you'll often go above and beyond more for others, especially loved ones and family members, than you would for yourself.
I'm a big believer in compressing decades into days. So I would access for whatever it is I wanted to master, is what I do, the very best in the world. And I'd find a way to add value to them so they'd open up to me. But even if I couldn't do that, in the world we live in today with blogs and posts and social media, you can pretty much model anybody's psychology who's any kind of thought leader today, because there's so much to read or learn from them. And I say the third thing is, if you've got this true mission and you really have a good outline or a plan, you've got to stay fully awake and alive to, are you adding value enough in this current moment, in this environment, to whatever you're doing? If you're constantly finding a way to add value, it means you're going to be innovating. If you're innovating, you're going to be doing more for others than anybody else. If you're doing more for others than anybody else, you're not going to have to worry about prospering. So I'd say get strong enough reasons, get a role model, and get your ass to work.
Oh man, that's so good. That's so good. Find a why. Find someone who can help you or who's already accomplished your why, and get your ass to work. Sounds pretty good. Sounds good to me. All right, guys. Well, that's all I had for this episode. Check back in next time. I'll have plenty more for you. If there's anybody out there you think could benefit from stuff like this, hey, shoot them over the link. I'd appreciate it. All right. Till next time. Peace. Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on today? Is that redundant? All right, guys. Well, that's all I had for this time. All right, guys. Well, that's all I had for this episode. We'll check back. I don't even know what I want to say. What do you want to say? Just say bye. Say peace. All right, guys. Well, that's all I had for this one. This one what? All right, guys. Well, that's all I had for this episode. Check back in next time. If you thought anyone out there, what the heck am I even talking about? Hey, what's up, guys? I'm back here with a 4th episode. Got a good one for you here today. It's going to be about a bunch of nothing, because nothing. What am I even talking about? At least I got the 4 right.
And transformation